Welcome to Pre-Algebra. We're going to be discussing Lesson 72, Multiple Unit Multipliers. So let's go back and discuss what a unit multiplier is. A unit multiplier is a form of writing 1. And we write 1 in math lots of different ways. We write it just the number 1. We write it with 2 over 2, 100 over 100, multiple different ways. Unit multipliers are a way to work with dimensions or rates, for example, miles to feet, hours to seconds, things like that. So today we're going to be working with multiple unit multipliers. Something like 12 inches over 1 foot is a great example of a unit multiplier. There's lots and lots of them. 1 hour, 60 minutes, and they're also the reciprocals are true. So 60 minutes, 1 hour, and 1 foot over 12 inches. Now, what if we had something like 20 feet squared? Now, what's being squared? Right, the feet are being squared. So when the feet are being squared, that means we have 2 feet. So we could rewrite this 20 feet times feet. Now, if we wanted to convert this to inches, we would need to get rid of both of these feet. And remember, when we were talking about this, we want to have one on the top and one on the bottom. So let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to convert this 20 feet squared to inches. So we'll put 1 foot on the bottom and we'll put 12 inches on the top. We're going to do that one more time. And we want to do that one more time so we have a foot on the bottom and a foot on the top. I want you to think about why we would want to do that. Why would we want to have 2 unit multipliers right here and right here? So the reason we would want to do that is so that we can cross out both of these feet, this foot and this foot, because they're being multiplied. One's on the top, one's on the bottom, one's on the top, and one's on the bottom, and they're all being multiplied. So we can cancel them out. We have a foot on here with this one, and then this foot can go with this foot, and then we're left with 20 times 12 times 12. Okay, and another way to say that is 20 times 144, which is 2880 inches squared. And this would be our answer. So that's pretty much the lesson. How do you think that this would apply if we had something like feet cubed? Well, we'd want to have 3 feet on the bottom. So we'd multiply by something over feet times something over feet times something over feet. So this feet cubed would cross out with the feet on the 3 feet on the bottom. And then if we were going inches, we'd be saying 12 inches, 12 inches, and 12 inches. And if this was 1, we'd end up with 12 cubed inches cubed. And 12 cubed is 1,728 inches cubed. Now it's really important that we have this cubed right here because that represents this inch, and this inch times each other. Okay, so let's practice this with some examples. Starting with example 1, which is on page 486. You can follow along in your book as I read. It says the Ortegas want to replace the carpeting in some rooms of their home. They know the square footage of the rooms total 855 square feet. Since carpeting is sold by the square yard, they want to find the approximate number of square yards of carpeting they need. Use unit multipliers to perform the conversion. Okay, so the information that they give us is that there are 855 square feet, or feet squared. They want us to convert this to square yards so they know how many square yards of carpeting they need. So let's convert this. There are how many feet in a yard? And there is 3 feet equals 1 yard. Okay, now we want to end up with yards, so that means that the yards are going to go on top, and then we want feet on the bottom so that we can cancel out. So we're going to put 3 feet, 1 yard, 1 yard. And the reason, again, why we're putting a foot right here and a foot right here, so that when these two get multiplied, because there's a multiplication sign right there, so when these two get multiplied, it becomes feet squared. And then we'd have a feet squared on the bottom and a feet squared on the top. And we can cancel them out because we have one on the top and one on the bottom, and they're being multiplied. So let's go ahead and do that. So I've got this foot, and when they're put together, they become feet squared. So we can cancel out the feet squared. So I'm left with 855 over 9. So let's go over here and do that work. So 9 goes into 85 9 times minus 81. We're left with 4. We bring down the 5. 9 goes into 45 5 times, so we subtract 45, and we're left with 0. So the answer to this is 95 yards. Now pay attention to this part, squared. And the reason why it's squared is we have a yard right here and a yard right here, and we're multiplying them together. It's just like when we do an area. So remember, when you do an area, it's base times height, and you have, 2 inches times 2 inches, and you would end up with 4 inches squared. So the same principle is happening here. We have a yard times a yard, and it becomes a yard squared. So our answer to this problem is 95 yards squared of carpet. So let's move to example 2. Example 2 is on page 487, and it reads, concrete is delivered to a job site in cement trucks and is ordered in cubic yards. Ray is pouring a concrete driveway that is 18 feet wide, 36 feet long, and 4 inches, or 1/3 of a foot, thick. Ray calculates the volume of concrete he needs is 216 cubic feet. Use unit multipliers to find the number of cubic yards of concrete Ray needs to order. So Ray calculated that he needs to get 216 feet cubed, or cubic feet, of concrete. Now, the problem is the company that he gets concrete from does not accept orders in feet cubed. They only accept orders in yards cubed. So he needs to convert feet cubed to yards cubed. So we're going to go ahead and use unit multipliers to do that. And we're going to use 3 unit multipliers to do that. And the reason I know it's 3 is because of this exponent right here. I have 3 feet that are being multiplied together to get this feet cubed. So I need to put a feet here, a feet here, and a feet here. And that is to remove this feet, and we're going to put the yards on top. So I'm going to say 3 feet, 1 yard, 1 yard, 3 feet, 3 feet, 1 yard. Okay, I have 3 feet on the bottom that are being multiplied by each other. So there's one right here. one right here, and one right here. So it's feet times feet, and then those 2 feet are being multiplied by another feet, which gives me feet cubed. So I have a feet cubed on the bottom and a feet cubed on the top, so I can cancel out all these feet. So when I go to multiply all of this out, I've got 216 on top, and it's going to be divided by 3 cubed. So I'm going to rewrite this in a different way. I'm going to do 216 times 3 times 9. And I wrote 3 times 9 because this right here becomes 3 times 3 times 3. And I left this 3 alone, so I brought it down. I did 3, and then I multiplied those two together, and I got 3 times 9. Now what I'm doing is I'm picking this up from right here, and I'm going to move it to underneath the 216. And why this is helpful is I'll show you in just a second. So I'm going to say, well, I know that 3 can go into 216, and it goes into there 72 times. And we know what 72 divided by 9 is, and that is 8. So I have 8, but don't forget, this comes up here, this 8 goes up there, and then I've got to put my yards in. So I've got a yards here, a yard here, and a yard here. So I have 8 yards cubed. It's to order 8 yards cubed, or cubic yards, to get this driveway finished that he's working on. Okay, so let's move on to example 3. And example 3 is found on page 488 in your book. You can follow along as I read. Keisha set a school record running 440 yards in 1 minute, or 60 seconds. Find Keisha's average speed for the run in miles per hour. So they give us a nifty little unit multiplier over here, and you'll probably need to refer back to this one quite a few times. 1 mile is equal to 1,760 yards. Okay, another one you need to know is 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. Those are kind of standard, and from there you can convert to centimeters, to inches, things like that. So memorize those. It will help you. So going back to the problem, it says Keisha set a school record running 440 yards. So 440 yards in 1 minute. So she did that in 1 minute. And do notice the difference between miles abbreviation versus minutes. Miles is MI, and then minutes is MIN. Okay, so keep that in mind. So she went 440 yards in 1 minute. They want us to convert this to miles per hour. Okay, so we have yards on the top right now, and we want to convert that to miles. And we do have this one right here that converts it from yards to miles, and that's super useful. Now we want yards on the bottom so that we can get rid of the yards both here and here and be left with only miles. So we're going to put miles on top, and it's 1 mile over 1,760 yards. Okay, so we have 440 yards over 1 minute, and we have 1 mile over 1,760 yards. So at this point, we can do some canceling, and we can do the yards are canceled, and they're left with miles and minutes. But that's not what they asked us for. They asked us for miles per hour. So we need to add to this, and we're going to put on here times 60 minutes in 1 hour. All right, and then we're going to cross out these minutes, the ones on the bottom, the one on the top. And then we're left with 440 times 60, and then we're going to divide that by 1,760. So let's go ahead and get to work on that. We'll come over here and we'll do 440 times 60. All right, so I'm going to do 6 times 4, which is 24, carry it a 2. 6 times 4 is 24 plus 2 is 26. I have 264, and then I'm going to bring down these two zeros, 0, 0. So what I have is 26,400, and we're going to divide that by 1,760. Well, first thing we can do is cross off some zeros. Okay, I'm going to take our reducing a little bit further. Both the top and the bottom here can be divided by 2. So 176 divided by 2 is 88 on the bottom and 1320 on the top. Okay, so we could continue dividing by 2 on the top and the bottom, and let's go ahead and do that. We're left with 44. We'll divide by 2 here again, and that is 6, 6, 0. So it looks to me like we can divide them by 11 now. So when we divide by 11, we'll have 4 right here, and we'll have 60 right here. Now that's an easy number to divide. 60 divided by 4 is 15 miles per hour, and that is our answer. I also want to point out that on number 9, which you're going to do as part of your homework, is it says Stephanie, which is me. Actually, I would never bake a cake like that, just so you all know.